Discipleship involves growth in both beliefs and practices. As we grow in our faith and knowledge of God, that motivates our actions and our way of living. And what's interesting is that those same actions and way of living can further influence our faith and our knowledge of God. As we talked about before, discipleship is not a one-time event. It is a mature lifestyle developed through intentional, progressive growth in both beliefs and practices. So let's talk about that growth process in discipleship. If we go back to that school model and think about the classes, what would be the classes or the subjects for discipleship? What are the growth levels in discipleship? Well, let's go back to lesson 1. And let me tell you, this might be a little booky, a little headish for you, but we'll try to explain it. So we go back to lesson 1 and we look at those 4 stages of growth. Remember, we talked about connect and learn, follow, and go. Those 4 stages create the framework or the outline for the beliefs and practices that would be taught in discipleship. Really, they are the subjects that we would be covering in discipleship. In the portion of belief, we would cover the elemental through the mature teachings of the Christian church, basically everything that Scripture has to reveal to us. In addition to that, there would be 7 key faith practices that would be encouraged throughout the intentional discipleship process. Those faith practices are worship, study, prayer, fellowship, stewardship, service, and evangelism. Now, if we think about that school model again, as we would move from grade to grade in elementary school, or if you want to think about elementary school moving on to high school and college and beyond, there are similar levels of growth or cycles of growth for discipleship. In particular, there are 4 main cycles that we would focus on. Cycle 1 is establish. Cycle 2, develop. Cycle 3, mature. And cycle 4, influence. And just like that school model again, each subject would be taught at each level. So for discipleship, the beliefs and practices would be taught during each cycle, but in progression. So as disciples move from one cycle to the next, they would go deeper in their understanding of the beliefs, and they would be encouraged to develop and become more consistent in those faith practices. In addition, at each cycle, there's a slightly different emphasis, which you might pick up from the names. So let's take a look at those 4 cycles and the various beliefs and practices that are emphasized in each.